What's up, everybody? Thralls here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick, and I have another album review for you. So another one that came out on the 15th of July, and one that you guys have been commenting about quite a bit. And believe me, when I heard this, it was like, yeah, you guys kind of know what I like, don't you? I might be pretty easy to read at this point, but yeah, you picked a good one. So we are going to go over the debut full-length from Maul, Seraphic Punishment. This also comes out again on the 15th of July on Redefining Darkness Records. This band formed in 2017 in Fargo, North Dakota, don't ya know? Oh, they're loud as heck, you betcha. Sorry, I fucking had to on that one. Anyway, this is their first full-length album, though they do have 2 EPs, 3 splits, 3 demos, and 1 comp. Holy shit, this band has been busy for, what, 4.5 years worth of existence? Bravo, guys. Now, I went into this one blind. I didn't jam any singles by this. I pretty much just went by your recommendation. I mean, it also helps that it was on Redefining Darkness, and I do love that label. But this was, man, exceptionally fucking brutal. This is, well, it's death metal, but there's a lot of different influences on here, and it really kind of comes out across this entire listen. Like, once you kind of get settled into one particular thing they're doing, they kind of change it up and add some other elements. The album just explodes with the opening track of Human Frailty, and holy shit, it is monstrous. The guitars are so thick and heavy. They got such a good, crunchy sound to them. The drums sound absolutely massive. The fucking snare sounds like gunfire. There's a ferocious low end to the music. The vocals are fucking nasty. The production across this entire album sounds fucking awesome. Opens up into like a stomping sort of like autopsy-ish rhythm. Reminded me a lot of Scorched or even like Gatecreeper, but as the song keeps moving, it sort of breaks into more like atmospheric, almost kind of death doomy territory. And honestly, the vocals take on a more sinister approach, and it kind of sounds more like Temple of Void. And already I was like, well, okay, I kind of got settled into that first half of the song, but the second half of the song has a completely different vibe. And then later on the album, you're greeted to more death doom, you're greeted to like hardcore sort of breakdowns, you're greeted to fucking brutal death metal slams. This pretty much takes like elements of different styles of death metal and kind of homogenizes it, I guess. Like, that is kind of the term I want to use, because it pulls in a lot of different influences, but it still stays like blended well together. Like, it doesn't feel like they're imitating any particular band or any particular sound at any point. It just sounds like, yeah, that sounds a little bit familiar, but man, this overall just sounds fucking brutal. But it also has like a dark, sinister atmosphere to it, and atmosphere is kind of a cool thing in here. There's a lot of transitional atmosphere, like interesting synths and ambient noise in between tracks. At the end of that opening track, there is a Hammond organ that kind of comes in with the Death Doom-ish moment on there, and it really just adds a whole other level of like creepiness. It sounds dreary and somber. But when you get down to songs like Oracular Burial Grounds and Deity Demise, all of a sudden the more brutal elements come out. Deity Demise has a flat-out slam breakdown in it. It's one of the most brutal moments on here. Definitely reminded me a lot of like Dying Fetus, Mortician, but there's kind of a deathcore-ish vibe to it, and it's not like in a bad way before you get all like, oh shit, I better give up on this band now. It sounds really good. It sounds like early Whitechapel, which I still really dig. But this also showcases something they do well in here, which is injecting melody into these brutal moments. They always pepper in like some clever melody or a good hook and a riff, but they never lose the brutal edge. While this slam breakdown is sort of leading in, like it's just building and fucking energy and ramping it up, it slowly starts to get a little bit more melodic with a nice like dissonant melodic lead behind it. And it kind of changes the mood a little bit. It gets more creepy and atmospheric versus just being, you know, head caving in fucking heavy. I was really surprised about the amount of melody and hooks around here. Like, you know, going from the start of this, I was expecting flat out brutality. I definitely got it, but there are some like legit really good hooks, and not like cheesy or anything. They're just like very powerful hooks. The song Buried in Resin, the way it starts out, it almost sounds like it could be an Alice in Chains song. Now, as soon as the vocals come in, of course, that ruins it for anyone that was expecting an Alice in Chains song or something with clean vocals, because, well, honestly, the only thing I think that would keep a prospective non-metalhead listener engaged in that would be the riffs and melodies, because I think those riffs are very powerful, they're very hooky, they're not as brutal, but they still pack a serious punch. But the vocals, again, very heavy, lots of deep vocals. There's a good trade-off between deep vocals and high screams on pretty much the entire album too. actually kind of reminds me a lot of Svenko from Aborted. But yeah, no, the vocals would ruin that for any prospective non-metalhead that does not like guttural vocals at all, because guttural vocals are definitely the main thing on here. Going over this album, I feel like this band found a sweet spot between old school death metal, brutal death metal, and even death doom on here. Again, it's that pulling influences from different camps, but kind of, again, homogenizing it and making it their own. Monarchy of Mold opens up like an old school Hypocrisy song. Like there's a really cool melodic tag in the riff. It's very up-tempo. And up-tempo is, you know, not the big thing on here. This is mostly mid-tempo, and it kind of slows it down to those big, heavy, slow breakdowns. But this one starts off nice and fast. Definitely reminds me a lot of, again, like early to mid 90s melodic death metal, and then takes a hard shift to death doom at the end, where it gets extra dreary, very atmospheric, kind of, you know, channeling a little bit of Hooded Menace there, but definitely more brutal. And then a song like Infatuation pretty much stays the course of old school death metal. You get machine gun riffs, you get double time, just straightforward stomping rhythms. It sort of has a bolt thrower, Frozen Soul sort of vibe to it, like it just drives straight ahead. There's some good breakdowns to it, big stomping chorus to it. And in terms of like song structure, this one really kind of just stays in that moment. And then a song like Impulsive Intruder, there's almost kind of a Lamb of God vibe to it, albeit played through a death metal filter and much heavier. Like the riff structure just kind of has this fun sort of like groove metal bounce to it. And groove is such a huge thing on here. This is a flat out like headbanging album. Doesn't really waste any time getting to like a point where you're just gonna get latched on to a sick riff. And that is definitely one of the things I love about this album. It stays intense and it holds you there. There's really no lulls on this album, albeit, you know, one interlude, Invocations, which, I mean, I get it if you're listening to the vinyl. I guess that's the flip side of it. That's where side 2 starts. I'm not a vinyl listener, so that doesn't matter to me, but I do think it's kind of cool that they got Big O from Tzump Pentley. I'm not even sure I'm still pronouncing that one right or wrong, but I do love that band, and he does create some cool atmosphere in there. Like, you know, there's some synths, there's some tribal percussion, and it does segue into Buried in Resin pretty damn well. All these little stylistic shifts on here definitely made this a really engaging listen, and this runs at a pretty tight runtime. Like, it's just a little bit over 35 minutes, I believe, and I was engaged throughout it and picking out different kind of cool riffs on here. There's like different sorts of tones they bring in. Oracular Burial Grounds opens up with a filthy sort of just extra dirty HM2 buzzsaw tone that sort of just sets the mood for that disgusting song, which is a really cool thing on here, where it kind of varies in terms of like styles and even like guitar tones and types of riffs on here. Like, this is like a smorgasbord of all the cool things about death metal I like across different death metal styles. Going through this, I would even say this band is comparable to a band like Based, albeit not like, you know, Bloodbath Worship, but in terms of like the creativity of the riffs. The riff work is maybe like a little bit more creative and brutal as hell. And I don't know, like, that's the thing that really just kind of kept me latched on this, because I didn't know where this album was going to go next, and I like that little bit of unpredictability. There's a uniform sound on this, for sure. Like, it's 100% them, but again, bringing in those little, you know, influences from different sections of death metal across the death metal spectrum, I don't know, man, it just made this a really engaging listen. In terms of any negatives about this, I really didn't have very many. I did think Carium Totem had kind of a strange transition. Like, it opens up as a big somber death doom song, and you kind of think that this is going to be the big closer, and then it kind of shifts into maybe like a little bit more familiar territory in the rest of the album. Like, it gets back to the stomping rhythms, a little bit more of that, you know, kind of hardcore groove. And it does close with that more death doom sound, and even throws in some really creepy, kind of almost atonal synths that really just kind of shift the mood on there. But the way the song starts, you kind of feel like you're being set up for like a bigger, more death doomy song to kind of close it out. And granted, you do get some of those moments, but I feel like that shift in between, I don't know, like it felt like kind of stuff you had heard before earlier in the album. Not that it was bad, it was just like, I don't know, maybe this song could be like more uniform, kind of like Infatuation was like kind of more of a uniform old school death metal song. And on the title track, I don't know, it kind of has this weird fill in the verses. Like, there's this weird fill that comes in and it kind of throws me off a little bit, and it kind of just like makes me have to find the rhythm again. It just feels like a case of maybe trying to do a little bit too much to sort of pepper up the song when I think all they needed to do was just kind of just riff it out and keep the intensity rolling. Because that seems to be the mission statement across this entire album, is just keep pummeling you and keep pummeling you in different ways. Like, yeah, pepper you with some jabs and then hit you in the gut, maybe kick out your knee. And well, I mean, they're going to put you in the hospital with how heavy this is. But overall, this was a fucking banger. This is brutally heavy, but again, there's just more to it. There's, you know, melody, there's different kinds of hooks, there's lots of different approaches to the riff work. Vocals are fucking solid. And again, that intensity stays pretty much peaked the entire time, which I absolutely love. So overall, I'm going to give this 4 stars. This is a fucking banger of an album. I was kind of wavering on 4.5, but I didn't want to pull the trigger on that one just yet because I definitely want more listens with this, but I do have this already pre-ordered and in my Bandcamp fucking cart. I'm just going to wait to order that one until Friday, which you're seeing this probably Saturday. So then I've already ordered it and I'm just anxiously waiting for that album to arrive because this is just nasty. Like, this is kind of a good hodgepodge of all the most brutal elements of a lot of different styles, really thrown together well. Like, the songwriting here is incredible. The transitions are fucking smooth. I love how there's unexpected shifts in terms of atmosphere and moods in here. Like, this is just a nasty fucking listen across the board. This is one where I could say if you're just a fan of death metal in general, like maybe not one particular style, I think you could possibly get into this. But of course, if you're a fan of bands, again, like Scorched, Gatecreeper, there's definitely some Morbid Angel nods, Frozen Soul, Bolt Thrower, hell, even a little bit of like Hypocrisy and Mortician too. Like, again, this pulls from a lot of different camps and they do it really fucking well. So yeah, strongly recommend checking this one out. I can't wait for my CD to arrive. So yeah, I strongly recommend this one. Definitely check this one out. So if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there will be a link down below. There will also be a link down below to thrallsandmetal.com where you can get one of our kick-ass shirts. And as for Denver Death Fest, again, we should be making an announcement here soon, or I don't know if by the time you see this we've made an announcement. Either way, it's coming or it's already here. But I believe the lineup is pretty much set. We have, I believe, at least 30 bands on there. And this will take place again September 30th through October 2nd in Denver, Colorado, where Denver is located, which apparently isn't Antarctica or Alaska or by Lake Michigan or any of the things I've been saying. I don't know. I imagine as soon as bands are announced and all that stuff, we're probably going to be announcing like ticket prices and all that shit. So definitely stay tuned for all that information because I'm looking forward to being able to tell you more than just sort of this roundabout thing at the end. And of course, thank you guys so damn much for subscribing, following, commenting, all that stuff. We love doing this. Again, yes, the awkward fucking thank you part of the video, but I mean it every time. It's just amazing doing this, and you guys are absolutely amazing too. So I want to keep this one short too because, I don't know, like I kind of run out of shit to say it towards the end, and it feels like it just gets awkward. I feel like I might as well just start putting on lipstick and start kissing at the camera or something like that. Actually, I know I might do that sometime just to throw you guys off. I don't know. That'd be weird. I might do it. Don't put it past me. You know we're fucking degenerates here. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and we will catch you later.